Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Matt Johnson in today for Ted Rowlands alongside Julia Janae. Big day here. Before we get you back into court in New Hampshire, let's turn our attention in New York, where it's sentencing day for Sean Diddy Combs.
Yeah, the music mogul, he was convicted on prostitution-related charges while being acquitted of the most serious charges back at trial in July.
Now, no cameras allowed in that courtroom, that federal courtroom, but Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft standing by. She's in Lower Manhattan outside. You've been in that courtroom from time to time, especially during the trial. Set the scene, inside, outside. What's happening? What's the latest?
Well, hi there, Matt and Julia. Big day here in Lower Manhattan because Sean Diddy Combs is going to learn his punishment. This is punishment for the 2 crimes that he was convicted of. He was convicted of 2 counts of the transportation to engage in prostitution. So what has been taking place so far? So earlier, before we were inside that courthouse, Sean Diddy Combs making his way into the courtroom, wearing the traditional sweater with the shirt underneath like we saw throughout this entire trial. When he made his way into the courtroom, he waved to his family members. His young girls waved really rapidly back at him. They were so excited to see him. He hugged his defense counsel and shook many people's hands. And then the proceedings ended up beginning. They began about 10:20 a.m. Eastern time. And the judge gave some overarching remarks at the beginning in which he discussed different things. For instance, whether acquitted conduct would end up applying in this case. He said that it would. Talking about some other enhancements, victims, defense counsel, always busy here in New York City with the sirens. But he talked about the victims, meaning Cassie, Ventura, and Jane. Should they be referred to as victims? Defense counsel has said that they should not be referred to as victims. The judge disagreed with that, Matt and Julia. Also, coercion enhancement. The judge said that that should apply. Also, the organizer leader enhancement should be applicable because Sean Diddy Combs organized freak-offs. These are comments from the judge. After he made those comments, he then said what sentencing range he thinks is applicable in this case. And what did he say? He said anywhere from 70 to 87 months. So 7 years and a few months on the top end, and then on the lower end, at least 5 years and 8 months. Now, that doesn't mean that's going to be the sentence. That's what he says the sentencing guidelines would indicate. So he took a look at many of the sentencing guidelines, and that's what he ended up coming up with. What we do know is that Sean Diddy Combs plans to address Your Honor. He did submit a letter, and this goes over what he is going to say to the judge. We have some excerpts from that we can put up for you on the screen, in which he is talking about things like wanting to say that he has remorse for the situation. But after the judge talked about that letter and that submission that Sean Diddy Combs made, and prior to him making his remarks today, this is what the judge had to say. He said that while Sean Diddy Combs has expressed remorse for some things, he has not expressed remorse for all. The argument that this was adults paying for time, not sex, is not supported by the evidence. So, strong words from the judge to Sean Diddy Combs. Again, we have not heard Sean Combs speak yet. What's taking place right now, the prosecution has completed their argument. They do have an opportunity to say more after defense counsel completes its argument. But right now we're hearing from one of Sean Combs' defense attorneys who's talking about Sean Combs' life, how he was the first, if not one of the first, black musicians to start a black record label, and how he did that despite many, many challenges in front of him. Also talking about other mitigating factors that they think apply in this case, including his own domestic violence, that he was a victim of domestic violence, also that he was a drug addict at times in his life, how that should apply. This is according to defense counsel, who's making their argument as we speak.
Yeah, Kelly, a lot happening there, especially when we know the defense ahead of this. We can almost picture what's happening in that courtroom. They put out that 11-minute memorial video. That's what it seemed like, where it just looked at his entire life and all of the good that he's done. Tell me this, we got word from you and our Court TV team that's there inside of the courthouse that there was an accuser who was going to be speaking for the prosecution, but it sounds like that's not going to happen today.
It's not, Julia. So this is Mia. She planned to speak. She wanted to speak. The prosecution put forth a motion to the judge saying that she would like to speak at today's sentencing hearing. Now, she had submitted a letter as well explaining her situation. And we do have some excerpts from that letter that we can put up on the screen for everyone, and people can take a look and see what what she has to say in that. I'm not going to go ahead and read it to you, but I will say this. She will not speak because she said now, according to the prosecution, that she is afraid to do so because of the bullying by defense counsel. And so defense counsel put forth its motion objecting to Mia speaking today. They were saying things like she is not a victim. The judge scolded defense counsel as the sentencing case got underway today. He scolded defense counsel, saying that the language in the motion that he put forth was inappropriate and never to do that again, because he was referring to it as, although he didn't use the word, he was going along with what the prosecutor said, saying that this was bullying to a victim that wanted to come forward and speak, who now is not going to speak, Julia. But we can tell you we will hear from some of Sean Diddy Combs' children. 2 of his 3 children are going to be speaking today.
Wow.
Kelly Craft,
huge development.
Thank you for that update. We know you're going to continue to keep us updated throughout the day on everything that happens there, so we'll let you go for now. We'll bring in our guest who's here in studio with us, trial attorney Mackenzie Joy Brennan. Mackenzie, a lot we just learned from Kelly Craft. What I want to hone in on, first of all, it doesn't sound like the judge already is very happy with the defense.
Not
it doesn't
at all.
bode well for the music mogul. But she said that he was asked if acquitted conduct would come in. Sex trafficking we had here, the allegations of RICO charges he was acquitted of, but the judge saying it could come in to his decision making.
And that has been a big debate in the last few days. You know, what conduct could be considered? Can that affect the sentencing guidelines? And what acts can be counted in calculating that sentence? Is it every time any of the victims crossed a border, or is it just each victim for themselves? And it sounds like the judge went with that 5 to 7 year bracket, more or less, is going to use that one. And it also sounds like he does not appreciate any of the defense's characterizations of these acts, and that does make me think that he's going to allow things in, like domestic violence, which he also cited in the bail hearing.
Yeah, you know, and denied bail multiple times, denying this defense in a lot of their motions leading up to this moment, to your point. Defense looking for time served, basically 14 months. Prosecutors want an average of 11 years, something like that. We'll find out later today. But what do you think celebrity plays in a role in a trial like this? Is he being made an example?
I mean, it's hard to say that when he was acquitted of the most serious charges, and being outside the courthouse, because I was there at certain points of the trial, and it was all support. I mean, I think the only decision maker who...
What do you mean it was only support at the courthouse?
A lot of yelling outside pro-Diddy. There
Supporters showing up.
Yes, it was very much pro-Diddy rather than anti-Diddy. There were altercations that broke out, mostly if people expressed an alternative opinion. So in that sense, if anything, I would think the jury could have been swayed in that direction. Obviously, the judge is pretty immune from that sort of factor. And I think that things like this PR video and even some of these courtroom displays, the judge probably is not going to take kindly to that, because it is a pretty transparent ploy. And it's honestly pretty consistent with abusers, too.
There is a difference in how you approach a jury versus a judge. Do you think his team is handling that well? Clearly, their approach with the jury, where they said, look, they embraced domestic violence. They even embraced the video, which was shocking. But they told this jury, yes, he did terrible things, but it's not sex trafficking. The jury agreed with that. But here now, with the judge, they are seemingly having this similar glowing review of their client in front of the judge, and it doesn't seem to be going over well.
I agree, and I wonder who is calling the shots behind the scenes. This, to me, seems like something that these attorneys, who have been very strategic and very good at knowing their audience thus far, it doesn't really track with what they would recommend in this situation. In what we've seen so far of them, it does track with the ego of somebody who has been able to smile his way out of situations in the past, and maybe trying the same tactic now and pushing his team to follow.
And I remember that in pretrial hearings leading up to the trial, which took place a few months back, but I remember he was trying to get them to submit this, you know, request this. So he's been leading the charge the whole way. All right, we have to put a pin in the discussion right now, but we are going to keep you updated throughout the day there in Lower Manhattan.